Project Ghosted presents Blood Ledger, Edge of Vengeance. A story of greed, betrayal, and a man pushed beyond his limits. Alex Chen, a financial analyst at the powerful Garrison Corp, was just another face in the crowd, another cog in the machine. His life was numbers, spreadsheets, and the quiet rhythm of the city. But one late night, while digging deep into the company's financials, he stumbled upon something that didn't add up. A series of irregular transactions, cleverly hidden within layers of corporate jargon. A digital breadcrumb trail leading to a truth far darker than he could have ever imagined. He tried to sound the alarm, to warn his superiors about the corruption festering in the heart of the corporation. But his warnings were met with cold indifference, then with thinly veiled threats. They told him to forget what he saw, to walk away. But Alex couldn't. The numbers on the screen weren't just data. They were a stain, a moral poison seeping through the company's foundation. And as the threats became more personal, targeting the people he cared about, he knew his silence was no longer an option. The anonymous calls started late at night, voices like gravel whispering promises of what would happen if he didn't stop digging. Then, the whispers became a physical threat. One evening, shadows detached themselves from the darkness of his own apartment. They were intruders sent to deliver a final, brutal message. But, as they lunged, something primal and forgotten awakened within Alex. Years of disciplined routine, of mental focus honed by numbers, translated into a sudden, shocking physical clarity. He dodged a clumsy punch, the movement fluid and instinctive. Struck back, he possessed. It wasn't a fight. It was a violent dance of survival. In that moment, bruised and breathless amidst the wreckage of his quiet life, Alex realized the time for waiting was over. The game had changed, and he was no longer a pawn. He found himself on a rain-drenched rooftop, the city sprawling below like a web of flickering lights and dark intentions. The wind whipped around him, cold and sharp, but his mind was a furnace of resolve. Down there, in those glass towers, men in expensive suits played God with people's lives, protected by layers of wealth and power. They had tried to break him, to scare him into submission. They had underestimated him. Looking out at the concrete jungle, a profound decision settled over him. He would fight back. Not for money, not for glory, but for something far more fundamental, for justice, for survival. For the quiet life they had stolen from him. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about balance. A debt was owed, written in a ledger of blood and betrayal, and he would be the one to collect. Alex retreated into the shadows, transforming himself into the weapon they had forced him to become. His days were spent poring over encrypted files, tracing the syndicate's web of corruption through the city's financial veins. He learned their names, their habits, their weaknesses. His nights were a crucible of pain and discipline. In a dimly lit, forgotten gym, he trained relentlessly. He rediscovered the martial arts of his youth, his body remembering the fluid movements, the hard-earned discipline. Each punch that landed on the heavy bag was a blow against the fear they tried to instill in him. Every block, every evasive maneuver was a step towards reclaiming his own life. He wasn't just building muscle. He was forging a new identity, sharpening his mind and body into a single, focused instrument of justice, preparing for the inevitable confrontation. His first move was a whisper in the storm. He targeted the syndicates, street-level enforcers, the muscle that kept the city's underbelly in line. In rain-slicked alleyways, under the faint glow of neon signs, he moved like a phantom. The encounters were swift, precise, and brutal. He used the environment, the shadows, the element of surprise. He wasn't there to brawl. He was there to dismantle. Each fight was a test, a way to sharpen his skills and harden his resolve. He left no trace, no witnesses, only a message of fear that began to ripple upwards through the criminal hierarchy. They had sent thugs to intimidate a numbers guy, but they had created something else entirely. With every decisive strike, Alex Chen, the analyst, was fading, and a new, more dangerous entity was taking his place. Having sown chaos in the syndicate's lower ranks, Alex set his sights on the source, the boardroom. Using a forged ID and the unassuming demeanor he had perfected over a lifetime, he infiltrated a high-level corporate meeting at Garrison Corp. The air in the room was thick with arrogance and entitlement. Power and greed oozed from every polished shoe and tailored suit. These were the men who pulled the strings, who saw people as mere assets and liabilities on a balance sheet. Alex remained in the background, a ghost at the feast, observing their interactions, listening to their coded language of corruption. He moved with calculated precision, his mind a step ahead, mapping out their network, identifying the key players and planning his next, much bolder move. The battle was moving from the streets to the skyscrapers. The pretense of civility shattered in an instant. A stray comment, a flash of recognition in an executive's eyes, and the boardroom became a cage, but Alex was prepared. Before security could react, he moved with decisive force. Chairs became obstacles, tables became shields. He struck with disabling precision, not to kill, but to incapacitate, creating a window of chaos for his escape. The alarm blared as he burst from the room, leading to a frantic chase through the corporate labyrinth and onto the rain-slicked rooftops. Leaping across dizzying gaps between buildings, he moved with the calculated risk of an athlete. Below, the city was a blur of lights and sirens. This was his element, now a high-stakes game of agility and nerve, where one misstep meant a fall into the abyss. It all came down to this. In the cavernous, half-finished floor of a skyscraper under construction, Alex faced the syndicate's chief enforcer and his elite guards. This was the final confrontation. It was a whirlwind of motion, a brutal ballet of martial arts. Alex was no longer just reacting. He was a master of his environment. He used steel beams as cover, scattered construction materials as weapons, and the shadows as his ally. Every strike, every block, every fluid dodge told the story of his transformation, a story of survival, honed by rage and guided by a quest for justice. The fight was a symphony of controlled chaos, a testament to skill and strategy against brute force. One by one, the syndicate's pillars fell, not just to his fists, but to the data he had already leaked, exposing their corruption to the world. Their empire, built on fear, crumbled. The city sleeps on, blissfully unaware of the war that was just fought in its highest towers. Atop the skyscraper, Alex Chen stands alone, the cool rain washing over him, cleansing the grime of the fight. Justice has been served. Not the blind justice of a courtroom, but a more personal, visceral kind. His quest for revenge was tempered by a cold, hard-won discipline. He gazes down at the world he fought to protect. Greed, lust, corruption, they are powerful forces, but tonight they faltered. They faltered in the face of a single, ordinary man pushed beyond his limits. As the first hints of dawn break over the horizon, a question hangs in the air. Is this the end, or just the beginning? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the shadows, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more original stories from Project Ghosted. Stay vigilant.